Welcome to the Greater Culture Podcast, where we have conversations about how to elevate the quality of life through movement, nutrition, recovery, and mindset practices. Welcome to another episode of the Greater Culture Podcast with your host, Brad Marshall. And today I'm excited to be joined by my friend Danielle Dunlap, who has many, many titles. And I'm sure we're going to dive into all of the titles and roles and responsibilities that she has as an athlete, as a business owner, a nutrition coach, a mom, and all of that. Needless to say, Danielle, I'm excited to have you on the conversation today. So thanks so much for joining.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I always feel like it's really fascinating to hear people's origin stories of what got them interested in fitness and health. And as somebody who's been to the CrossFit Games as an athlete, as someone who coaches folks in nutrition, a lot of exciting things. Tell us a little bit about how did you get so into health and fitness and working out and trying to help others?
So I have loved fitness from a young age. When I was younger, I wanted to be a professional athlete. I wanted to be the first woman specifically to play in the NBA is what I wanted to be. So I've always had a passion for fitness, health, and wellness. When I was in school, at college, I wanted to go into physical therapy because I wanted to be able to continue to work with athletes as, my body started to fail on me, that sort of thing. Little did I know I was going to find CrossFit and I'm going to be able to do that until, I'm old. So I can continue to be an athlete in that way. But as far as the nutrition side, I competed in 2017 at my first regional, the Central East, when I was at home in Michigan. And I started to want to dial in every aspect of my health and wellness to compete in CrossFit. So I started working with a nutrition company, and I started figuring out what macros were and micronutrients and different things like that, and that got me interested in learning just more. So I got my precision nutrition level 1 and just have built on that since then.
Yeah, it's amazing how the personal experiences lead us down the certain paths, like you said, being a college athlete and then figuring out how do I continue to help others and stay in that space. And then even when it comes to nutrition, figuring out what that looks like for yourself. When you first found CrossFit, was it a competitive finding? Was it just I wanted to get back into moving around after being a college athlete? Or what was that experience like when you first walked into the gym and started going consistently?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I found CrossFit when I was working at Buffalo Wild Wings. I saw Samantha Briggs on, win the CrossFit Games. I believe it was in 2012 when she did that. So I started like early 2013 after I saw her win, and the owner of the gym at that time, CrossFit Lake Effect. He still owns it to this day. He kind of promoted an environment of, wanting to do a little bit more extra than the class. And I was like, okay, this is fun. I'm seeing good results, having a good time. Everybody's really nice. And that moved into me doing my first CrossFit competition, actually at Eighth Day Gym, which is the team that I went with this past year to the CrossFit Games.
What a full circle
Um,
experience.
I know, it was very cool. So 3 months into CrossFit, I did my first CrossFit competition at Eighth Day Gym. And I don't know if you know Alyssa Ritchie. She competed back in the day at regionals. She competed at that competition as well. So I was super nervous. I'm competing against this regional athlete. She's amazing. So that got me sparked and loving competition. Everybody was very nice. I had so much fun. I was so sore afterwards, but I fell in love. It was awesome.
It's really unique how the first gym that we join kind of creates what we think about CrossFit and how we react to it and things like that. And so being at a gym where people are pushing themselves and there's some competition and things like that got you into it at that early stage. Did you find that CrossFit as, methodology as sport came easy in the beginning phase of like you were learning the skills really quickly, building the strength really quickly, or was it something that for you felt like it took a long time to get to where you wanted to be?
It takes a long time for me to get good at anything. I have to work really, really hard. Things don't just come naturally. So, yeah, it took time. I mean, it took me 11 years of doing the sport to be able to go to the CrossFit Games. Um, so, yeah,
Because when I heard you say that 3 months in, you were doing your first competition, I know there's different levels to that, but that's a
yeah.
pretty quick timeline to go from walking into a class to saying, hey, on a Saturday, let's go throw down. So, what was that first CrossFit competition experience like for you? Obviously, it got you hooked on it. So, what about the competition was something that you really loved and enjoyed?
So it was a team competition. So I loved being a part of a team and working together to kind of get, ultimately to the final, which we made it to the final, which was really cool. We didn't, podium or anything, but just because I worked so hard to get to where I am, I loved working hard in those 3 months leading up to that competition to where, we had a few of the workouts we were able to practice. And I did quickly see progression, like with gymnastics and things like that. But um, I didn't see a lot as far as the weightlifting side, and that's still very true in my career today. I'm not one of the strongest athletes, but I would say gymnastics is one of, and anytime I see gymnastics in a workout, I'm pumped about it. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I know to get to the level that you're at now, it does certainly take a lot of time and energy. And so I'm curious, what is it about the journey or about the process that you love so much? I mean, being a collegiate athlete, I'm sure there's that competitive drive that's in there. You got that first taste of competition, and then to continue to stick with it and see progression, see growth over the long haul takes a good amount of discipline, determination, but what for you is it that you love most about the process and the journey and staying in it?
I love training every day. Um, I feel like since I wanted to be, the first woman to play in the NBA, like I loved going to practices when I was younger. I loved being a part of a team. I love putting it in my own work, by myself, like in the weight room. When I was cheerleading in college, I was one of the only ones that was going to the weight room and lifting weights and doing, some of the extra things that I thought would, be good for our team and our sport. So I really just love the process of training. And throughout that, I've found so many amazing friendships, that I've created. Throughout the community in the course of the time that I have been competing. Um, it was funny. We went to the CrossFit Games this past season. We took the owner of Eighth Day Gym, and he was there for my first CrossFit competition. Right, he didn't know who I was, but we have kind of been friends since that time, and um, he made this comment at the games. He was like, "Wow, you really know a lot of people here, and it's really cool to see you, have, different relationships with, all of these different people here, and it's also positive and friendly." And that's been over the course of time that I've, competed in the sport, been to different competitions, like even, being friends with you. I'm, making connections throughout the sport, and I'm doing this because, we're friends, and we both have the same passion for fitness and CrossFit, living healthy lives and supporting people in their journeys to accomplish whatever goal that they want to accomplish through CrossFit and living a healthy lifestyle. So
Yeah, I hear the two levels to that. The first being just the personal growth and development and the way it makes you feel and the confidence that it brings to train every day and falling in love with that feeling and how that kind of motivates you. And then the second level is the people and the community. And I think for so many, that's what draws them into a gym is they want to make some personal changes, whatever that might be. And then when they get into a gym, group fitness of any kind, they're like, oh, wow, there's other people who want to be on the same journey as me. And it's what keeps us in it. And the more relationships you build and the more people you connect with, the stronger it gets. Was there a certain point in time when you made sort of that shift from individual focus of I enjoy it for the sake of working out and my own personal benefit to I want to help others experience and understand that too? Because I know over the years you became a CrossFit coach and still do coach classes now. And obviously this bleeds into helping people with nutrition. So at what point along the journey did you make that, differentiation of like, I want to help other people experience what I've experienced?
Yeah, so it was honestly during that time that I made that first regional appearance, I guess in 2017, when I was interested in it for myself. I was also, I've been coaching CrossFit since I basically started. I got my level one actually like the weekend before I did that first CrossFit competition. So very like quickly in my journey, I wanted to help people on that side. But the nutrition kind of started to play a role in 2017 when I got in 2018 when I did my precision nutrition. Um, I started doing like challenges at the gym, and you know, I feel like people are very inspired by others that like really walk the walk. So it was kind of an easy like just road for me to kind of travel down. It's parallel, right?
Yeah. And I think it's interesting to have the conversations around movement and fitness and coaching people to move more effectively and to come to class is one thing. And then to start to have some of those conversations around nutrition, even though it's the base of the hierarchical theory, around CrossFit, it's also something that is neglected, kind of like you experienced and also said. So, what has that process been like of having the knowledge and the insights around movement and coaching class to now we've got to go a different route and think about how we have some of those conversations around nutrition and how you fuel yourself and what that does and how that probably actually makes a bigger difference than the hour they're spending in class?
Absolutely. I like you said, it's the base of the pyramid. And I had this conversation last week with someone else. So I love that you said that it's the base of the pyramid. But I thought it was very easy to transition to something like that. Because as a coach, as a leader, to someone that is, leading their 1 hour, their, one best hour of the day is what we try to make it, right? Um, it's very easy to say like, hey, make sure you go get your protein and your banana after your workout. Or someone is having trouble like with their energy during the workout. Well, oh, did you eat something this morning? And like, oh no, I've been fasting. Like, probably not a great idea to come into a workout with no glycogen in your system. Your body needs that. Um, and then, as far as people like curious, how do I get stronger? That's an easy, okay, how much protein do you eat? Oh, I don't know. Okay, probably not as much as you think that you're eating. Let's work on that. I think it's a very, like I said, a very parallel road to walk. You fuel your body for your CrossFit workout, you fuel your body for your lifestyle, for your goals, whatever that may be.
I really love the connections and tie-ins when just asking somebody how their day's going and they respond with energy levels or sleep or feeling like they're not making as many improvements as they might like, how it does tie so well to nutrition. They probably aren't even putting two and two together that, oh, this workout went exponentially harder because I wasn't fueled or didn't eat properly or not seeing the changes because of the nutrition side. So having the ability to have those conversations is really important. And I
Mhm.
think for a lot of folks out there, because there is so much information and different people you can listen to, what was your approach to trying to go be more educated or allow yourself to have the basis to have these conversations and be able to help people? You mentioned precision nutrition. So what was that process like of figuring out where do I want to invest my time and money to learn about the science of nutrition and then also figure out how do I know enough that I can help people?
Yeah. So I feel like it was very much like thrown in the fire for me because I started doing the nutrition challenges. Um, and you very much like I was talking to my husband about this the other day. You don't learn everything in college that you need to learn to go out into the job that you are doing. Like you have to learn from experience. So I learned a lot from experience through working with different people. I also learned that I can't help everyone, and there are certain issues like autoimmunity or, metabolic issues or, things that are under the surface that, okay, maybe here's the reason why you're not, getting those desired body composition goals or the weight's not coming off. Like there's something that's going on underneath that. And, um, last summer I got my functional nutrition certification from a guy. Actually, he lives in the Raleigh area, but is was extremely beneficial for me to learn about those different issues, those underlying issues that may cause someone to not see desired results, or their weight is shooting up and they're not sure what's going on. A lot of it is like very basic like lifestyle stuff, as far as like sleep. you know it, the sleep is like the base of the pyramid, basically very similar to nutrition, but if you're not getting enough sleep, so very much lifestyle stuff. But other is like, micronutrients in food, learning how to read lab markers and things like that. So that's been so beneficial for my business, helping my clients achieve their goals. So yeah, I love learning about. I try to do at least one thing a year to further my education, to be able to help my clients, myself, just get to wherever they want to get.
Yeah, and I think some of those initial certifications, like a precision nutrition, helps us to get the foundation of understanding just general concepts. They do get pretty in the depth there and also help understand how to coach and how to get behavior change to occur. And then the more you learn, it's funny, it almost feels like the more you don't know. And you're like, oh, there's so much more that I want to explore and figure out and solve. And so I love that approach of finding something each year, whether it's learning more in depth about some of the functional medicine aspects to it or hormones or specific populations. And so when you talk about the work that you do, what would you say is sort of your either typical or ideal client that you typically see or comes and interacts with you to try and get some help with their nutrition?
Yeah. So because I've been in the CrossFit space for so long, a lot of them are CrossFit athletes. So I would say like a CrossFit athlete is my ideal person. But if you as a gym owner, if an athlete comes into your gym, signs up, does CrossFit, they're a CrossFit athlete. So I like to work with people that like to go to the gym every day, like to hit that class, like to be a part of the community. Typically, like their mindset is so much better, as far as like wanting to go work out. They have a positive attitude, a growth mindset, that sort of thing. So I like working with people like that, not specifically like a high level athlete. Yes, I have a couple of those, but I also have, I have a mom that wants to get her lifestyle on track along with getting her hormones regulated. I have males that, you know, ultimately we found out that their testosterone was low, but they like he is also a CrossFit athlete, so we're working on that right now. So I have a range of different. Oh, I also have this one client, so pumped about it. She's perimenopausal, 61 years old. She was training for marathons. She did a half marathon this past weekend. was eating very low carb, moderates amount of protein, moderates amount of fat, but very low carb. Has kind of been like on different diets throughout her entire life. And she ran her half marathon this past weekend. She like double checked her watch, but she was running 9:30 paces for her miles. And previously, like she had been training at 10:30, 11-minute paces. Um, so I'm so pumped about her, just because she's seeing like those results, like not only body composition changes, but she's seeing the performance changes at 61 years old. Like it's just so cool.
It's so fun to see some of the results that clients are able to achieve from making even sometimes just small adjustments to the way they eat or the way they sleep or timing and things like that. And not only do they notice the aesthetic changes, which I think a lot of folks, that's why they seek or reach out to a nutrition coach, but then all of a sudden they see what happens in the gym and life outside. And they're like, wow, I didn't realize I could feel this good, which is a
Yeah.
really fun place to be as a coach. And I mentioned that there's so much information out there and a lot of different theories and different methods. If you could give a sort of a bird's eye view of your philosophy on nutrition coaching and what you like to work with your clients on, what would you say is sort of your general philosophy or approach to working with folks?
I like to have basics covered. So supplements, fish oil, vitamin D, creatine. Everyone throughout their entire life should be taking those supplements. Um, Sleep, getting at least 7 hours of sleep nightly. Ideally, not working night shift. That's one of the best ways to drop your cortisol and, see a bunch of different effects from there. But working like a regular job so you can get your circadian rhythm going. We talked about sleep, and then also like getting enough protein. A lot of people don't really realize how little protein that they eat, until they start tracking. So you at least want to get like your body weight in grams of protein. And if you're a little bit heavier than you would ideally like to be, then at least getting your goal weight in protein daily. So
Yeah, I see that as a major challenge as well. And then as soon as they track or send a few photos from a couple, meals, you're like, yep, there it is. It's really challenging to find the right protein intake. And then I like what you said too about supplements of there are different things we can take to help us to get some of the energy levels that we like, or just help some of our metabolic functions operate more effectively. And so
Mhm.
even sometimes it's hard to get it from the foods that we take. And folks
Especially
out there.
like like you said, the food that we take, the I mean, even if you buy fresh fruits and vegetables, the time that it gets from whatever farm or wherever it was at to your table, like it's losing nutrients. And even the soil that it is grown in, like it doesn't have as much nutrients as it has had like in 1910 or 1800s or whatever it is. Like the quality has gone down a ton. And um just speaking to like fish oil, a lot of people like to go the natural way and not take supplements. um for you to get enough fish oil, like out of like salmon, for example, you would have to eat like 2 pounds of salmon per day to get enough fish oil that your body needs for brain function, joint health, that sort of thing.
Really helpful, I think, to work with somebody who, one, you build a relationship with and trust, but also can help guide and influence some of that. Because a lot of times, like you mentioned, and I know I've certainly seen it too, is if you ask somebody, hey, what's your nutrition like? You always get, it's pretty good, pretty good. And you're like,
Yeah.
can you show me what pretty good looks like? And
Yeah.
then when they show it to you, you're like, I would classify that as not pretty good.
Yeah. They're typically all like, I'm like 80-20 healthy. That's like my percentage that I get.
Yeah.
Like 80-20. Yeah.
I've been accused of being a little less than 80-20 sometimes in my life. And I was like, hey, it happens to all of us. It's okay.
Yeah.
But there's those moments. But yeah, I think that's why it's helpful to work with a coach because of that accountability piece, because of some of the educational pieces, and to try and help figure out and tweak things to get you on track. And I think when it comes to nutrition, the behavior change is what I think is the hardest part, because I think people innately have an idea of what good quality foods look like and what a good plate can look like. It's the actual doing of that knowledge that is the challenging part. So
Mhm.
in your work and with the folks that you've interacted with, how have you worked to overcome that challenge of they kind of have an idea of what they should be doing or what they want to do, and there's things that stand in the way, life factors. So how do you get folks to engage in the behaviors and the lifestyle changes that will see the results that they want?
Yeah, I think that is the most important thing, especially to create sustainability throughout their entire lives. So they're not, yo yo dieting or anything like that. So I like to implement small habits. So starting off small. So, like, if they're not getting enough protein, for example, I don't like to shoot out numbers at people and say, hey, good luck. I like to slowly cycle people to proper macro ratios and see how their body adjusts. So little things like that with protein, like, hey, let's try to get 25 grams of protein at breakfast, 25 grams of protein at lunch, 25 grams of protein at dinner. Here's a couple snack ideas throughout the day that are protein rich, that sort of thing. And I'm a big lifestyle, a person as well. So, like for the sleep example, getting people to go to bed, start their bedtime routine like a half hour earlier this week. So, or maybe 15 minutes. Like, let's just start at 15 minutes earlier this week and see how it goes. So just adjusting things little by little, so it is easy for them to kind of just add into their routine. Like, okay, you ate lunch. We typically get that 2 o'clock, like kind of midday lull. I'm exhausted. Let's try to go on a 10-minute walk after your lunch period. So when you come back home, remote work or whatever it is, go walk around the office for 10 minutes afterwards. Like typically that boosts energy. It's going to boost your process of digestion and things like that. And it's just the little things build up into the big things, and then you start seeing changes, you start making lifestyle changes, and yeah.
I love the small changes aspect to it, because I 100% agree that making the minuscule changes to prove, hey, I can do this, and it gives you some confidence that you can consistently do it. I think it's
Mhm.
Precision Nutrition who highlights that as well, of when working with somebody and asking, hey, how confident do you feel like you can make this change? And if it's less than like an 8 out of 10, then it's probably too difficult, and we need to lighten the load a little bit, so to speak, to try and make it into something that we know they can hit consistently. And the other thing I like that you said too is this idea of figuring out what it looks like in your lifestyle, because it can be easy to hand somebody a template and say, here's your calories, here's what I want for protein and carbs and fat, and good luck. But that doesn't really give them any insight into how that fits into their schedule. If you've
Mhm.
got kids, if you've got different work schedules, if cooking at home versus this or that is challenging, it's
Yeah.
easy to see the numbers. It's hard to actually put that into your personal lifestyle, which is why I think working with a coach can be really effective. Have you found that to be the case of, numbers is the easy part? It's actually figuring out how this applies to their life that's the challenging part as a coach?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think the people that see the importance of it, though, make it a priority. Like, they know that something needs to change, whether it's the way that they look and feel in their clothes, or they had a visit with a doctor and the doctor is very concerned about their labs. I think people make it more of a priority when they see it becoming an issue.
Yeah, it's a common theme, something that's always resonated with me, and I've seen it time and time again. Is this idea of pain is usually the greatest motivator of change. So whether it's like emotional pain, physical pain, whatever it might be, they finally experience something in life that's like, oh, I want to make a change. Something's got to be different. What I think is unique too is what you highlighted before was living the life that you're coaching and talking. And so, as a mom and as a wife, and having a family and having a business and having a lot of other things that you're working on as well, taking care of yourself and your own nutrition and sleep and things like that, how have you seen that be the case for how you operate with having a daughter and having a family, of still focusing on getting the right amount of food, helping take care of your whole family? Talk us through a little bit about that process.
I've been very fortunate to learn those things as it kinds of comes along, having I Reagan's turning almost 5. So I'm super excited about that. But I've learned a lot, like as a new mom, when she was an infant, like being a mom is very hard. Like I absolutely understand why parents get they kind of not necessarily lose themselves, but they do things, their entire life revolves around their kid and their job and making sure that they have, better than what we had when we were younger. So not making their health and their wellness a priority. So that's been very eye-opening for me. As I Before I got married, before I had a kid, like I was very selfish with my time, selfish with my money. I did things for me, and that kind of shift towards understanding that parents, working parents, single parents, like they need grace. And that has been given a lot to me by my clients as well. So I feel very grateful that it's been reciprocated, when I have also learned to give it as well.
Yeah, it's amazing how, life throws different things at you, and it forces you to adapt and figure it out, sometimes on the fly. And everything looks great in books and articles and journals until all of a sudden it hits real life and you're like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense, but they don't understand what it's like to be sleep deprived or to not have, the opportunity to buy certain types of food or whatever that might be. And so I imagine that has probably allowed you a better opportunity to connect a little bit more with some of your clients, to understand what they're going through and find ways to try and make that relationship even more effective.
It absolutely has. And I feel like I've developed very close friendships with a lot of my clients in that way too. Um, you know, People that have gone on and like they don't need me anymore because they got it and like they're crushing it. Like I still keep in contact with them, and that's been very special too.
Yeah. And I imagine too, as a coach, food is, for whatever reason, a very vulnerable topic for a lot of folks. Food is love. It's a way we communicate with each other. It's how we celebrate. It's how we get over bad times. And so anytime you're willing to open up to somebody and talk about what you're eating and how it's making you feel or how it's making you look, there's a certain level of vulnerability there, that is tough. And I think that leads to some of those strong relationships, because if somebody helps you through that, all of a sudden you're like, okay, you were a coach, but like you're more than that. And I imagine you probably have experienced some of that too.
Absolutely. It's a pretty cool relationship to have that, with your clients or your members or whatever. I'm sure you experience that as well.
Yeah, it's one of the things I think that keeps you in it is seeing the changes, seeing the excitement, seeing the light bulbs click, that people can feel or be a certain way, or they can choose to be different than they were previously. I think that is a huge rewarding factor for coaches. And as someone who's started up a business to help people, I would love to dive a little bit more into what that process has been like, because there's so many different companies out there that help support nutrition coaching and this and that, but to go out on your own and start your own company that helps and works with folks. Tell us a little bit about the beginnings of Humble Hungry Athlete and what that process has been like.
Yeah, so I was managing a CrossFit gym full time, and I absolutely loved it. I love the community. I loved being at the gym all day. Like I was at the gym all day already, so it was cool to be paid and be at the gym. And then I moved to the area and just to get to know people better, be in community. Um, the military community is very prevalent around here. So I knew a lot of people through that with my husband and getting to know other couples in the military. It's the military community is very like tight knit, very supportive of each other, and I'm very grateful for that. So things kind of shifted with the way that my gym was running, and I wasn't super happy anymore. So I quit, didn't know what I was going to do. And my husband was super supportive. He was like, why don't you start your own business? Okay, cool. I've been wanting to do that for a really long time, but I am someone that if it looks like it's too big for me, it kind of is scary. So I just started chipping away at it day by day with my new time off and um, kind of building and thinking about what I wanted it to look like, the name of it, um, the people that I wanted to work with, how I was going to structure all of the back end things, the front end things, the way that my clients would see it, and it just kind of started coming together and had its own life.
How did you come to find that particular name? Because I think when you start a business and you get to choose the name and the brand and what you want it to be about and why you're getting into this, there's a lot of either personal reflection or stories or things like that. So tell us a little bit about how you came to find the name and sort of the why behind it.
So my husband competed with CrossFit Fort Vancouver for quite a few years. We went to go visit that winter, and their motto is "Humble, Hungry, Awesome." And Adam Neiffer is a huge mentor to my husband, and he's become such a good mentor kind of style for me. He owns CrossFit for Vancouver, coaches Justin Medeiros, and is just a really good, positive human role model, dad, husband, CrossFit gym owner, coach. Like, he's got his hands in all the things. And I just really loved their motto. Um, and I think being a nutrition lifestyle business, that humble, hungry part really stuck out to me. Um, so we chose those two words, given inspiration from CrossFit for Vancouver. And it's been such a just blessing to be able to have that inspiration from those awesome people over there. Yeah, I love my business name. I think it's super cool.
I love it too. That's why I was curious to hear the story on it, because I really resonate with both the humble and the hungry piece of, we can be grateful for everything along the journey, but always feeling like there's a little bit more and a new mountain to peak and to summit is something that resonates really well with me. So I love the name. Tell us a little bit about what the journey's been like as a small business owner, because it's really fun and exciting to come up with a brand and come up with an idea and then, get some of the paperwork filed, and then you get into the day to day, and then it's like, oh, this is real. I'm really trying to help people. I'm trying to figure all this out. So what has that journey and process been like for you since starting the company?
It's been a lot of fun. The creativity part that I got to work with, like creating my logo, I get to choose what my day looks like, how many clients I want. depending on what's going on with my life at the time. Um, yeah, I get to be my own boss, which is really cool. So I really enjoy the freedom of that. I like being able to travel when I want to. That's been very advantageous for me as an athlete to be able to have that flexibility and freedom to still earn income and be able to chase my dreams as well. Um, and I really enjoy like the people that I work with. Like I said, a lot of my following or clients that I get is from Instagram, through being a CrossFit athlete, like that sort of thing. So a lot of people are drawn from that, but also, people inside the gym or, close in the area, they kind of know me for that. So it's starting Humble Hungry Athlete has been just very rewarding as well. I don't have really anybody. I hate the social media part. You do a great job at it. Like you do so amazing on your social media. I just feel like so awkward when I talk to people, um, or when I talk to my phone, really, and like throw that out there. But I've been trying to do better about that. And when I do, I see the rewards on the other end about people applying to want to work together. So that really motivates me to continue to push me out of my comfort zone and do more social media stuff, get on the podcast with you. So that's been very rewarding for me, just like seeing new clients come in, getting on phone calls, like chatting with people, even if they like decide that maybe now is not the right time. I still try to give them like little things that they can do and apply, to their life, even if like I said, it's not a right time or whatever. Just to be able to make that impact for someone to where they're like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym today because I talked to Danielle and she said it's really important to get some exercise in or get your steps in or whatever. So
Yeah, I can see the smile on your face and hear in your voice too about how exciting it's been and how much fun it's been, trying to solve people's problems, solve the business problems, and see how the impact and influence you've had just from essentially living your life and chasing your own dreams has resonated and trickled down to others wanting to reach out to you and interact to try and help them in their own lives. So I think it's this beautiful relationship there. And I agree. There's parts of running the business, whether it's the social media and the engagement or different things, that there's some things that you're like, all right, I know I got to do this, may not be the best or whatnot, but continuing to show up for yourself and your business is really helpful. And so along those lines, if somebody is interested in reaching out or wanted to start with you, what does that process look like? So if I reach out and I said, you know what, I really do feel like I need some help with my nutrition, let me reach out to Danielle. What is that process like for a new client? Like walk me through the journey.
yeah, so I have an application that just kind of gives me a little bit more info about you, like what your goals are, like um that sort of thing. So then we pop on a call, we kind of chat a little bit about what your goals are, what you're looking for. Maybe I kind of ask a few more questions that you weren't really thinking about that kind of, gives you a little bit more of a purpose or a drive to want to follow through and work with me. Um, so I try to ask questions, make sure that it's going to be a good fit, that I can, fulfill your needs. We start, working together. The first week is I call it a trial week, but basically what it is you just kind of give me data on how you've been living your life, what kind of exercise you've been doing, how much water have you been drinking, your macros, like what your protein, carbs, and fats look like from day to day. I kind of get a general idea on that. We do our first check in. I'll review everything over my Fitness Pal. I use the software True Coach for my information on for daily activities and biofeedback markers and things like that. And then I'll review everything via email. We'll get a good idea on, your first set of macros. So I'll give you target macros for that new week. You'll get an educational piece, recipe, supplement recommendations, all the, basics. And then we start implementing the habits from there.
Yeah, I love how comprehensive it is, from one, filling out the questionnaire just to figuring out if it's the right fit, the right relationship. What are all the key pieces here that you need to know, taking into account lifestyle factors outside of just what you're eating or how you're moving, and then making sure all along the way that there's this cohesive relationship of, hey, we're in this together. Let's figure this out and solve these problems that you might have. And along those lines, then, when folks are signing up, what does whether you want to call it like commitment level, or what does the ongoing process look like? Because we know change does take some time. So they're going to want to have that relationship back and forth as new things come up or different goals are assessed. So what is the ongoing, or what does that initial sort of commitment look like?
So I typically recommend that people at least commit to 6 months, because that gives me time to establish a base with someone. And then we can go through different seasons of nutrition. Um, just to give you an idea, like if a client were to come in and he or she were under eating, I need time to build up your metabolism, your macros to get you to a good maintenance level. Um, and just because I'm adding more calories doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to gain weight. Because I've had a lot of people that I add calories in, and they're like, "Oh, my body's happy now, and I'm going to shed some weight." Um, so to get them up to that point takes time, and that's time if you're consistent. If you're not consistent, it takes a little bit more time. Um, so at least, 6 to 8 weeks on that end. And then maintenance, you're at maintenance from 6 to 8 weeks. And then I can get you into a cut. A cut's going to range from 4 to 6 weeks. So you can see the time adds up there. And then after the cut, I've got to build you back up to find your new maintenance. And all of these phases and seasons of nutrition is going to be based on how your body responds, what your energy level is like, how you're sleeping, um, digestion, different things like that. So I look at all of those markers, and that kind of guides me on where we need to go.
Yeah, and I think that's really helpful to put into perspective for folks, the timeline. Same thing of, when they walk into a gym and are interested in whether it's losing weight or achieving a certain skill, there is a certain time commitment component to it of, hey, we will get you to this spot and I feel confident we can, but let's also be realistic in how long it might take us to get there. It didn't happen overnight to get you into the state that you're in now, so it's not going to be overnight that we're able to fix or make some of those changes. So having that upfront conversation around, here's what it's going to look like, it also gives them confidence. Okay, I know what to expect for these 4 to 6 weeks, and then the next 4 to 6, and the next 4 to 6. So I think that's a really helpful way to give people that perspective, especially as they work with you. So
Especially for this sustainability purpose. I mean, I don't want to, throw you into a crash diet. We're going to lose 10 pounds this month, and then you're going to gain back another 20, when you're gone, when you're done. So
100%. Yeah. And that's why I think, you can find numbers and find total daily energy expenditure numbers online to figure out roughly what you could eat, which is helpful in some ways just to have, a general sense of it. But for those true lifestyle sustainable changes, I think working with a coach can be really, really helpful to make sure that things are tracking the way you'd like them to. You're educated. You feel like you have a pretty good sense of what the right types of food look like, and the right types of plates and this and that. And then now you've got the confidence to go off and do it without the necessarily having a coach to oversee it.
mhm.
So one of the last questions I got for you that I always love asking folks is, I'm always curious about how people think about their sort of general philosophies or core values that guide and influence how they interact with the world. As somebody who's shared with us how you've been competitive, you've been an athlete, a mom, been somebody who started a business, you've been somebody who coaches and helps people. What would you say are either like your sort of core values or your sort of your guiding principles that kind of influence or impact the way that you show up each day and the way that you show up for work too?
So my team had I guess a mantra, and it was work hard and be kind. And I feel like that's really resonated with me. So work hard, be kind, treat people the way that you want to be treated. Um, I believe in God, and I believe in his plan for me, and treating your neighbor well. And so that's just a base as far as, what my core values are. Work hard, be kind, believe in God. He will, take care of you regardless of if he, puts some steps and stones like in the way. Like, they are there for a purpose, and they're going to shape your character, and ultimately, like, you will believe in his plan for you. You'll see why eventually, but you'll go through hardships in the meantime, and that's been very rewarding for me in my life, meeting my husband and going through tough times and making me stronger. And yeah.
Yeah, I think having that foundation and framework of having that spiritual belief certainly helps give some confidence that there's a sense of direction and purpose and things are unfolding the way that they should. And then on top of that, if I work hard and if I be kind, good things will happen, whether it's in business, in relationships, in work, and beyond. And so with that, Danielle, it's been awesome to get to catch up and pick your brain a little bit for how you think about fitness and nutrition and coaching and working with folks. I'd love for folks, if they are interested to connect with you, what would you say is the best way to reach out to you if they want to work together?
So I have my personal Instagram is Jacked Danielle's. I also have my Humble Hungry Athlete Instagram page and my humblehungryathlete.com website. So you could do one of those three. Shoot me a DM on there. I do have my link tree on there with my application if you're interested in working together, getting your nutrition and lifestyle. Um, yeah, so just those three different things. I love working with CrossFitters, people, with similar mindsets. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, highly encourage giving her a follow. She's got great stuff on there from the nutrition side, as well as stuff to help you with your health and fitness and movement and warming up and all the good stuff. So really good content out there. And this was great catching up. Looking forward to the next time we get a chance to interact. And congrats on the awesome season that you had, making it to the games with 8th Day this year.
Thank you. I had an awesome time, and I'm just very grateful for the whole experience and the 11 years that it took to get there.
Whew. Patience. That might be another virtue of just patience to stick with it.
Yep. Love of the sport and a love to train. So that helps a lot.
Awesome.